Hello everyone, today's video is going to be a little bit different. Today I am going to be ranking every Spider-Man suit that has appeared in a live-action movie. Now, I have seen all of these movies, like at least 5 times over. It is pretty apparent that I am a pretty big fan of this franchise. So I know all of these suits pretty well enough to at least rank them. So, without further ado, I'll just get into it by saying I just want to establish early on that this right here, this ugly fucking thing goes straight to, there's no F. If there were an F, it would go there, but it goes to D. But now with that out of the way, let's start left to right. So we have the Human Spider from Spider-Man 1. Now, I know this isn't the best homemade suit out of all of these. In my opinion, that goes to this one. But I actually might rank this higher than this one. It's a personal bias, but it might be out of nostalgia. I had the mask of this suit when I was, God, I want to say like 3, 4, and I lost it, and I could never find it again. And I was always really upset about that because I loved that mask. But it's definitely a good suit. Tons of nostalgia. Very solid. It's good for, you know, the context of the movie, you know, it being a wrestling suit and everything. So, I don't feel comfortable putting this in S. I'm thinking either A or B. For now, I am going to slide it in at a pretty comfortable B, but that could go up later. But, that being said, we're moving on now to the Raimi suit, the one that, Tobey Maguire, Peter Parker, wears in his movies. He actually does wear 2 different suits. Oh, there it is, yeah. That's the difference. Okay, so this is the Spider-Man 1 suit, and this is the suit from Spider-Man 2 and 3. Okay, so I guess I'll just start with the Spider-Man 1 suit. They're very similar. I think the only major difference is their spiders are a little different. Honestly, I don't really have much to say here. It's iconic. It looks great. The only things that I would maybe change are the angularity. I feel like maybe it's a bit too sharp, like the eyes and everything, and the spider. I don't mind the raised and silver webbing. I actually think it's a cool touch. But regardless, I love this suit, even though I don't think it's like absolutely perfect. I feel fine putting it in A. Okay, now this one, the Amazing Spider-Man 1 suit. This is one that I routinely change my mind on. I go back and forth between whether I think it's like actually kind of cool or kind of ugly as shit. Like, I mean, we all have eyes, we can use our 5 senses. It doesn't look I guess it doesn't look good is what I'm saying. It looks a little fucked up. But I like it more in motion. In still images it looks pretty ugly, but in the actual movie that it's in, when the suit is shown, it looks pretty cool. I do like the suit. I will say that. I acknowledge the ugliness, but I like the suit. So I have kind of conflicting opinions on this one. On one hand, it's, you know, kind of disgusting. On the other hand, it's kind of awesome. But I think I'll kind of split the difference and put it right in the middle at B. Alright, this one is the homemade suit from Spider-Man Homecoming. I think it's the best of the 3 homemade suits that we see in live action. It's a reference to the, you know, classic Scarlet Spider design. At least I'm assuming it is. Yeah, it's a cool look. It actually looks homemade, unlike, you know, most live action Spider-Man suits. Yeah, it's a pretty just solid, really good design. I like it a lot. I think I'm torn now. At first, I was thinking this could be the first S tier one. It's just a really good, solid suit with really nothing negative that I have to say about it. But I feel like I want to save S for some other suits down the line. I think this one, though, is a very, very comfortable A tier. This one, on the other hand, oh my god. Oh. I do not like this suit. So, this is the MCU's Iron Spider suit. Not to be confused with the one from the comics and the Insomniac games, the correct one. This one appeared at the end of Homecoming, and they finally retired it like halfway through No Way Home. So the only MCU movie that includes Spider-Man but not this suit is Civil War, I think, and that's pretty insane to say out loud like that. Now, I don't like this suit because I think it's just kind of over-designed and ugly, which is, a common criticism of MCU designs. It's that, but also, I feel like it really overstayed its welcome. I don't think he should have gotten it at all, and I'll explain why in a second, but if he should have, I feel like it really should have been exclusive to Infinity War and somehow been destroyed in the endgame battle. I feel like this one really went on for too long. I don't think he should have gotten it at all, though, because if you watch Homecoming, the ending of that movie builds up this suit, and Peter chooses to not take it when Iron Man is offering it to him, because the suit is representative of everything that Spider-Man shouldn't be. He's not supposed to be wearing a super fancy high-tech suit in space fighting aliens, being an Avenger. He's supposed to be, friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. The ending of Homecoming is there to show this suit as a negative, as something that Peter should not be or have. And then that's kind of erased when literally like 2 movies from then. I don't know how far the gap between Homecoming and Infinity War was. I think it was like 2 or 3 movies, but when like immediately after the character's next appearance, that suit is being thrown on them, and it's just kind of treated as like, whoa, yeah, awesome. I don't know. It just doesn't do it for me. So I already don't love the look of this suit, or at least I don't like hate it. I just really think it's overstayed its welcome, and I don't even think it should have been included at all. With all that being said, it feels kind of crazy. I don't know if I'd say it's as bad as this one. I really don't like this suit. It's just there to sell toys. That's kind of my justification for hating it. But this one doesn't, it doesn't feel as offensively bad as this. But I think it's going to have to be our second D tier. Well, with all that being said, now we're moving on to the Amazing Spider-Man 2 suit. So this one is, a fan favorite. There's not much to say about it. Are there things that I maybe think could be different? Yeah. My biggest issue with the suit is honestly, I think the webbing doesn't look spider-webby enough. It just kind of looks like lines, but I can look past that for how good everything else looks, and the webs do look good regardless. Some people don't have an issue. I mean, some people do have an issue with the spider on the front being, so big and long and stuff. I've never really minded that. In fact, I've actually always thought it looked cool in the Amazing Spider-Man movies, and thought it was like a cool, unique thing to set them apart. I typically don't like on Spider-Man suits when the spider on the back is angular and sharp and stuff. I prefer it being like round and cartoony. But this one makes it work in my opinion because of the long spider. I feel like if you had the long spider on front but like a round cartoony one on the back, it would look kind of odd. So if you're going to use the long spider, I feel like you kind of need to put it on both sides. So I really don't mind that here. The eyes look great. They're really big, like straight out. It looks straight out of comic book. The lenses. The colors are great. It's just a really good suit. Everyone glazes it, and I get why. I fully understand. It is pretty perfect. There are some very, very minor things that I think could make it better, but I really can, I guess, disregard those with how just good it looks. So this is, I think, undoubtedly going to be our first S tier. Now moving on, we have the now moving on, we have the Electro suit or anti-Electro suit, whatever, from No Way Home. Now, if I'm recalling correctly, this is just either the Homecoming or Far From Home suit, like flipped inside out, inverted. I know we see this suit in Homecoming when we see the suit, the Homecoming suit, flipped inside out. So I'm assuming it's that one, but I might be wrong on that. It's a cool look. It's kind of inoffensive. I've seen some people call it ugly, but I think it looks fine. It's cool. I don't have a whole lot to say about it. I think the wiring and everything is a cool aesthetic for the character that the suit is based around, that being Electro. But I really don't have strong opinions here. It's like a fine, whatever suit. I feel pretty comfortable putting this, I'm thinking either B or C. C is looking pretty empty right now, but that also still feels a little low. So I'm going to put this one, I'm going to throw this one in the mid tier at B. Moving on, we have, I think, objectively the best suit here. There's no real question there. It looks perfect. Literally the only differences I would make are maybe the blue is a bit shiny and the back spider is, sharp and angular, which I've already said I don't love. There's nothing to really say here. It looks, like picked straight off the page. It's perfect. I really hope it appears in the next few Spider-Man movies. Yeah, nothing to really say here. That's our second S tier, no question. Now the Night Monkey suit. Okay. Night Monkey. Tons of people would throw this one in D tier, easily. And I might be one of those. But I actually don't hate this suit. I think it's kind of like a half reference to almost like Spider-Man Noir. I'm not completely sure on that one. That's just always what I've kind of assumed about this. Sort of in the same way that the homemade suit from Homecoming is a reference to Scarlet Spider. I don't hate this suit, but it is, I guess, the least Spider-Man-y here, and it is kind of, I guess, lazy? I don't know if that's the right word. I'm just going to throw this one. D tier feels a bit low. I don't think it's deserving of that, so I'm just going to throw it right up in C tier, I guess. And now moving on, we have kind of a controversial one, but one of my favorite Spider-Man suits in live action. The main Homecoming Civil War suit. This was the first suit we saw Spider-Man don in the MCU, and I think it looks pretty great. I know it's a little bit MCU-fied, and I would change that. The lines everywhere aren't super necessary, but I honestly don't mind that, considering it's supposed to be like a classic suit, but a more like techie advanced version. Now they could have gone, I don't know, like the ANAD route from the comics, where it's just the classic suit but like metal and shiny. But this is kind of a cool in-between where it's techie but it's still like cloth and looks classic. I really like this suit. It has pretty much everything I would want out of a Spider-Man suit. It's bright. It has the big round spider that I keep mentioning on the back. It just looks fun. I really like this one. I'm debating putting this in S tier because honestly this kind of is an S tier suit for me. I know a lot of people would disagree with that. I feel like the safe choice is to put it in A tier, but I am gonna stick to my beliefs, and I'm gonna throw this one in S tier. Now this one, the symbiote suit from Spider-Man 3. This is Aura personified. There are so many good insanely good moments and shots and what have you of this suit, and it's hard to dislike, even though on paper I feel like I should dislike it. I know a lot of people aren't a fan of this, I guess, original route they took for the symbiote suit. A lot of people wanted, the classic, just plain matte black, maybe even like purplish blue one with the big angular white spider wrapping around the whole torso. Yeah, while that would have been cool, and when we do eventually see the symbiote suit in the MCU, I hope that's what it looks like. But I love this suit. Spider-Man 3 is maybe my favorite movie of all time. That has, personal reasons that I'll probably get into one day, because I plan on talking about the movie eventually. And this suit just does it for me. I want to stay objective, but when it comes to this one in particular, I legitimately just can't. I don't think it's in the same, I don't think it's on the same level as the S tiers I have, but this one is a completely, no question A tier. I love this suit. I know it's not an accurate symbiote suit, but it looks really cool, so I can look past that. Now, moving on to a GOAT, a true GOAT. The suit from Spider-Man 2 and 3. It's different from the one from Spider-Man 1. The differences are very slight and minute, though. Yeah, this suit is goated. It's amazing. It's perfect. It takes the Spider-Man 1 suit that was already perfect and improves on it. There's not really much to say here. Everyone remembers this one from their childhoods. Everyone loves this suit. I don't have anything negative here. There are things that aren't, maybe comic accurate, but I can look past that. It's kind of the same deal as the Spider-Man 3 symbiote suit. It just holds so much, I guess, personal meaning to me that all of those things really don't matter to me. And even if it didn't, I still think this is a good enough suit to where those things that maybe, others would change, I could still look past, even ignoring my personal bias, just because it is a really good looking suit. It's iconic, extremely nostalgic. I'm just gonna throw this one in S. I don't really have any questions about that. This one, on the other hand, the homemade suit from Amazing Spider-Man 1. Now, this is the worst homemade suit in live action, no question. It looks weird. It doesn't look very Spider-Man-y at all. I know the point was to show him as intimidating and almost thuggy, but I don't know. It just doesn't do it for me. It doesn't do it for anyone else. This isn't an unpopular opinion, so I don't feel like I need to explain it. But it's not a good look. We've looked better before. We don't need to do this. So, you know what? I feel like if there were an F tier, this suit would go in it, but there's not. So, I'm just going to have to throw it into D tier. I'm sorry. But the last one now, the Far From Home red and black suit. Now, this suit is really cool. It's very similar to the Homecoming suit, just with a slight color scheme change. There are some differences, like the shoulders and sleeve parts are a bit different. I think that it was really cool to include a red and black suit in the MCU, considering, the classic Spider-Man suit from the comics is red and black. I don't know if this was included as sort of a reference to that. I'm assuming it was, but regardless, it is a cool design. Even though I do prefer red and blue, I think this one looks great on screen. And there was even a point where I kind of assumed this would just be the MCU Spider-Man suit going forward, permanently. And while I don't think that's ideal, I would definitely prefer a design closer to the classic one, kind of like the Homecoming suit or the End of No Way Home suit. I actually would not have fully minded that, because I just think it's a pretty cool design. This one could either go A or B for me. I don't think it's, on the same tier as the B tier ones. I do think I like it more than that. So I feel pretty comfortable putting this one in the A tier. So, with all of that being said, this is our final ranking. This is the tier list. We have the S tier, composed of these ones: Amazing Spider-Man 2, End of No Way Home, Homecoming, Raimi 2 and 3. The A tier: Raimi 1, Homemade, MCU Homemade, Symbiote from Spider-Man 3, Far From Home suit. B tier: Human Spider Suit, Amazing 1, and Electro Suit. C tier: Night Monkey. D tier: No Way Home suit, Iron Spider, and Amazing Homemade suit. So, yeah, this is our final ranking. I feel pretty good here. You know, maybe C tier could be a bit more filled out, but I really don't know what I would put below B tier but above D tier other than the Night Monkey suit. So I feel pretty good about this ranking. Maybe I'll look back on this video in a few years and I'll say, like, what the fuck was I thinking? And I'll make an update with my new opinions. But for now, this is what we're going with. So, with all of that being said, if you enjoyed this video, then thank you. I'm not going to ask you to like. I'm not going to ask you to subscribe. I'm different. I'm not like that. This is me subconsciously asking you to like and subscribe. But thank you for watching, and goodbye.